Right now, there are hundreds of thousands of F-1 and J-1 students in the United States who have no idea that the rule protecting them just got deleted. In my last video on the F-1 to green card pathway, I told you a rule was close to taking effect that would end duration of status. That was a prediction back then. It's not a prediction anymore. On July 17, 2026, DHS made it official, and by September 15th, it's fully in effect. So here's exactly what's changing, who it hits first, and the one mistake that's already catching people off guard before they even realize the rule applies to them. For over 3 decades, F, J, and I visa holders were admitted under something called duration of status. No calendar expiration on your I-94. As long as you kept following the rules of your program, you were legal, period. That's gone. Starting September 15th, every new admission and every re-entry comes with a fixed date instead, called the Admit Until date, based on your I-20 or DS 2019 program length, capped at 4 years. Sounds manageable so far. But 3 specific changes inside this rule are the ones actually going to trip people up. And I'm walking you through all 3, plus the one thing you need to check this week if you have any travel planned. First, the grace period. It used to be 60 days after your program or OPT ended. That's now cut to 30. Half the time to leave, transfer, change status, or file for an extension. If you were mentally budgeting 2 months to figure out your next move, you now have 4 weeks. And that clock doesn't wait for you to notice it started. Second, and this is the one almost nobody is talking about clearly, the travel trap. If you're currently in the US on D/S and you don't leave the country, you're protected under transition rules right now. You don't need to file anything just because September 15th arrives. But the second you travel internationally and come back after that date, that protection ends. You're readmitted with a brand new fixed Admit Until date, and you're inside the new system immediately. 30-day grace period included, whether you planned for it or not. That means a routine trip home for a wedding or a family visit could quietly reset your entire legal timeline the moment you land back in the US. Before you book anything, that's the first thing to check. Third, what happens when your fixed period actually runs out? Under the old system, a lot of students never filed anything with USCIS just to keep studying past their I-20 date. Now you have to file Form I-539 for an extension of stay before your Admit Until date expires. Filing fee, biometrics appointment, possibly an interview. And if you're applying for OPT or STEM OPT around the same time, you may need to file the I-539 and Form I-765 together, which is a heavier paperwork load than students have dealt with in 30 years. New versions of both forms are expected right around September 15th to match the new system, so even the forms you think you already know are about to change. Now, 2 more changes that specifically affect your academic path, not just your paperwork. If you're an undergrad wanting to switch your major or transfer schools, you generally can't do that until you've completed a full year of study, unless you qualify for a narrow exception. If you're in a graduate program, changing your program once it's already started is largely off the table. And if you've already completed a degree in the US, you cannot start a new F-1 program at the same level or lower than the one you finished. That quiet backup plan a lot of students keep, a second master's just in case, under this rule, that option is closing. Here's where most of the panic online is getting it wrong. This does not mean every F-1 student needs to rush to USCIS tomorrow. If you're currently in the US, not planning any international travel before September 15th, you keep your existing D/S protection under the transition rules. No forms needed right now just because the date arrived. But if any of these 3 things apply to you, you're planning to travel, your program or OPT is ending in the next several months, or you're heading toward an OPT or STEM OPT filing, you need a plan this week, not in August of next year. Talk to your school's International Student Office. Confirm your exact I-20 end date. Know what your Admit Until date will actually be before it becomes a deadline you missed instead of a date you prepared for. Let's go through the mistakes I'm already watching people make, because these matter more than memorizing the rule itself. Assuming the rule doesn't apply to you yet, just because your program hasn't ended. It applies the moment you travel, regardless of your program timeline. Waiting until the month your program ends to start asking questions about extensions, that 30-day window disappears fast once it starts. Assuming the 60-day grace period still exists, it doesn't. Not for anyone under the new fixed system. And treating every headline about D/S ending as if it means the exact same thing for every student. It doesn't. A student not traveling until next summer is in a completely different position than one flying home next month. And the general headline won't tell you which one you are. One more detail worth knowing before you go. This is officially a major rule under the Congressional Review Act, which means Congress technically still has a window to review it. That's not a reason to wait and hope it changes. It's a reason to prepare as if September 15th is locked in, because as of right now, it is. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Check your travel plans against that September 15th date before you check anything else. That single decision, whether you leave the country before or after that date, determines which version of this rule you're actually dealing with. This reflects general information about immigration rules as of 2026. It's not personal legal advice, and every case depends on individual facts, so speak with a licensed immigration attorney about your specific situation. If this video helped you understand exactly where you stand before the deadline hits, subscribe to the channel, because the new I-539 and I-765 forms are still coming, and there's more to break down the moment USCIS releases them.